At first, it's the haunting melody. Every year, year after year. Rabbi Abi chanting Kol Nidre awakens our memories of the chazanim of our youth, of the great cantors of yore. Before we ever understood the formula of Kol Nidre, we tried to understand why we felt the way we felt, why the melody feels haunting, why tears form and chills travel up our arms. Over the years, there have been certain prayers and melodies in our High Holy Day liturgy that resonate in our mind's eye and ears and heart, and differently in different years. Some melodies awaken our memories, feelings, fears, and hopes. Other melodies stand out, invoking a tear, a smile, a prayer. Normally, we would be sitting with 100 or hundreds to collectively close our eyes, to hum, to think, or meditate. In years past, we would dive in with relatives, friends, acquaintances, or even strangers, and reflect on the meaning to us of the High Holy Days. We think of our friends and relatives who are gone, and we think of our friends and relatives with whom we share our lives. And we yearn to be together again with Rabbi Sarit and Abi. But no prayer, no melody plays on our heartstrings and memory like tonight's Kol Nidre. This melody is at least 1,300 years old. It has been chanted in good times and bad, in the shtetls, in the ghettos, in the camps, in every synagogue in the world. Kol Nidre helps us establish our own personal relationship with Adonai. The Kol Nidre formula dictates our desire to seek forgiveness from Adonai, asking, "Let me try again," and forgiveness from ourselves because we have erred. And forgiveness from others requires us asking them personally for pardon. And as we seek forgiveness, we feel our hearts are true. This year we are forced to have the Kol Nidre connection with Adonai, either alone or with a few family members, not in the synagogue with its lights and echoing sounds, but in our home. The brilliance of Rabbi Sarit encouraged us to make our space not only where to locate our iPad, but also to build our own Beit Knesset with talesa and matzah and with religious items and even dress for shul. Rosh Hashanah was the first opportunity, but Kol Nidre, the pinnacle. So close your eyes, listen to Kol Nidre, hum along, and think of years past, and think of this year, and be strong, be courageous, be safe, be healthy. Kol Nidre allows us to start again and say, "Forgive us, pardon us," and Adonai will say, "I have forgiven as you have asked."
We rise for Kol Nidre 205.
Kol Nidre v'yasarei v'charamei v'konamei v'chinuyei v'kinusei Shavuot Din darna ay de ishtabana ay de acharimana ay da 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 v'de asarna al nafshatana מיום כיפורים הזה עד יום הכיפורים. די-די-די-די-די. די-די-די-די-די-די. הבא עלינו לטובה. כול הון איחרתנה והון, כול הון יהון שרן, שביתין בטלין ומבוטלין. לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה אללה נדרה ויסרנה la esare ושבועתנה לשבועות. כל נדרי ויסרי וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי שבועות. דין דהרנה דאשתבנה ודאחרימנה ודאסרנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים הזה עד יום כיפורים. איי 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 די דה דה די 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 דה 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 די. הבא עלינו לטובה. כול הון איחרתנה והון, כול הון יהון שרן, שביתין בטלין ומבוטלין. לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה לה נדרה ויסרנה לשרי. די 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 נה 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 ושבועתנה לשבועות. כל נדרי ויסרי וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי שבועות. דין דהרנה דאשתבנה ודאחרימנה ודאסרנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים הזה עד יום כיפורים. איי 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 די דה 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 די 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 דה 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 די. הבא עלינו לטובה. tova. Kul hon icharatna behon, kul hon yehon shiran, shevitin betelin umevutalin, adai dai 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 da 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 da. La sharirin vilak hayamin nidirana I la nidre viesarana la esare idai dai 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 Ushevuatana la Shevuot V'nislach l'chol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hagar b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishkaga Slachna lavon ham hazeh kegodel chastecha v'chasher nasat alam hazeh mimitzrayim v'adheina v'sham ne'emar Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
melech haolam
שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We remain standing as we turn to page 207 for Baruch.
I die, 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 die. I die, 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 Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
You can be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'dvarim. Umavirio mumevi laila umabdil ben yomu ben laila Adonai tzevaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Hadai dai 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 Hi, da, 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 Hamariv, Aravim, Abatulam, Beit Yisrael, Amachaf, Torah Mitzvah, Kishmatim, Ki Hem Chayenu, V'yorech Yameinu, Ubahem Nege Yomam Balayla V'yabatecha Al Tasir Mimenu Liolamim Baruch Atah Adonai Hai Dai 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 Hai Dai 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 Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed V'ahavata et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha V'hayu hadivarim ha'ela Asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam V'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech U'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha U'kshartam liot al yadecha V'hayu letotafot bein einecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
We'll continue silently through the next two paragraphs of the Shema.
Adonai Elohechem emet Ve'emunah kozot v'kayem aleinu ki Adonai Eloheinu v'Adonai Umalchuto beratzon kibelu alehem Moshe uMiriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yameru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Norat tehilot osef eleh Malchutecha ra'u banecha Bokei hayam nifnei Moshe Zeili anu miyameru Adonai imloch leolam vaed V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov ugelo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai ka'al Yisrael.
We pray for peace and shelter, page 211.
Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'chol Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha Baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
We rise, second paragraph on page 212.
Ki vayom hazeh yechaper alechem letaher etchem mikol chatotechem Lifnei Adonai titeharu Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah Mi'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן. יהי שמרה במבורך לעולם לעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא וימרו amen.
The first of the silent Amidas that we will recite throughout the next 25 hours of Yom Kippur, the silent Amidah for Mariv, page 213 through 221. There's no way to always believe. I don't think it's possible. I believe in God, but I don't pretend to know what God is doing or how God acts in this world. Given that uncertainty, it feels somewhat surprising to me that I've thought about God much more in these last several months. In fact, in my 3 previous high holidays with you here in Memphis, I don't think I've given one sermon about faith and theology. And yet, here I am, High Holidays 5781, and this is my second time speaking about faith, or better yet, questioning and wondering and struggling. There has been so much uncertainty in this world. There has been so much anxiety. It's challenging to have perfect, uncomplicated faith. I think if we're being honest, anyone of faith, when things are hard enough, when we are tried enough and tired enough, we begin to wonder, is there a theological dimension to what's happening in our world? Tonight, I'd like to speak some about what faith reframed means to me in this moment. On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, I spoke about Abraham and the way that he had faith and sometimes struggled in his faith in God. I want to share another dimension of his struggle. I, along with many of you, I imagine, am deeply troubled by the account of Abraham ready and prepared to sacrifice Isaac. God tells Abraham, for reasons I cannot begin to imagine, to get up and take his son, to travel 3 days and journey to the place where God will show him, to sacrifice his son. And Abraham packs what he needs for a sacrifice and they journey. The Torah often lacks when it comes to psychological or emotional details. What was Abraham's state of mind? What was this journey like for him? So a Midrash tries to imagine these 3 days, trying to fill in these gaps of Abraham's experience on that journey. Here's what the Midrash, the rabbinic imagination, teaches us. Along the way, Abraham encounters Satan, disguised as an old man, who questions him repeatedly about where he's going and why. He pushes his buttons and finally calls Abraham a murderer for following God's word, yet Abraham remains committed as ever to his mission. Then the Midrash imagines that Abraham gets caught in a raging river, making it difficult for him to continue. Finally, he cries out to God, "Didn't you call me out for this mission? You are making this really hard for me." Finally, the obstacles are all removed, and Abraham and Yitzchak arrive at the mountain. As if the biblical account of Abraham taking Isaac up the mountain weren't painful enough, the Midrash paints an evocative, profound picture of their journey. The visceral reaction to Abraham's insistence on carrying out this mission hits me hard. How did he not struggle? How was he so sure? None of it makes sense. The astute and brilliant teacher of Torah, Nechama Leibowitz, taught that it can't make sense. She teaches this Midrash, this conversation with Satan, the raging river, and says that surely none of it happened. There was no such thing as the the Satan as old man character, there was no river, there was no conversation. Leibowitz teaches that these encounters are all part of Abraham's inner personal struggle. This is all his subconscious. Satan trying to convince him to stop, the river that could have curtailed their journey, all of it is a projection of his inner struggle with himself, his struggle with what God had asked of him, of his ambivalence towards God, of looking at a world in front of him and knowing that it doesn't add up. His emotional reality, his questions play out in this rabbinic text. Abraham was struggling every step of the way. He struggled and had doubts, and clearly his inner conscience battled with God and how to move forward. He didn't have it down. He wasn't always in sync with God, always believing. Often I hear people in devastating, trying circumstances explain it away by saying, God wouldn't give me more than I can handle, or that God is working God's good through me. And of course, every person is entitled to their own theology, but we don't have to believe that it's all good. We can be angry, we can struggle, and we can have a sense of shaky faith, not understanding how God acts in this world. Having unwavering faith in God is not actually a goal in Judaism, and certainly our faith has been tested over and over again. But there is still a concept of unwavering faith, faith of a different kind that can hold our tests and our questions, that can be the counterpoint when our own faith flounders. Our liturgy offers us one line of prayer meant to be the first words uttered out of our mouths in the morning, a deep expression of gratitude. Moda ani lefanecha melech el chai v'kayam, shehechezarta bi nishmati bechemla, rabba emunatecha. How grateful I am before you, living and eternal God, that you gave me back my soul with kindness. Rabba emunatecha, your faith, God, is great. Why do we say, in this expression uttered at the beginning of each and every day, that God's faith is great? What does it mean for God to have faith? Why would God have to have faith? The gratitude that we give every morning is rooted not only in our ability to wake up, but in God having faith in us as human beings. We thank God every single day, first thing in the morning, for having faith in us, for believing in us, for knowing that I am enough and that I can and do make a difference in this world. God has faith in me and God has faith in you, that we can live this day with meaning and purpose with whatever is in front of me. God believes in me that I will be able to make something of this day, of this year, because my life matters. God needs to have faith in us because we are instruments of good in this world. There's a beautiful story about a little boy who grew up to be a rabbi named Levi Kelman. He asked his father, with all the innocence of a child, if God is invisible, can God see God's self? His father could not answer him at first, but after several days of thinking it over, he came and asked his son at bedtime, when you want to see yourself, where do you look? The little boy answered, in the mirror. So his father responded, when God wants to see God's self, God looks at you, because God knows that the best of God can be seen in what you do and the best of who you become. We can't make the things around us go away, but we can show up as our best selves. You can be the person that the world needs, that your family needs, that your community needs, because God places God's faith in you. When we are shaky, when our faith in God might waver, remember that there is a being in this world who has faith in you. When meaning feels so hard to find, when a sense of assuredness about what's happening in the world is absent, when there's so very little clarity, it's sometimes easier to disconnect, to not try, because we aren't sure it will feel worth it. But God has faith in us that we can push ourselves to be there for others, for our community, for our country. We have the opportunity to show up as representatives for divinity in this world. In the Torah, such people are called malachim, like those God sends to Abraham and Sarah to tell them they will have a son. Today, we might call these angels, but the literal meaning of the word is simply messengers of God. This is us. We are the recipients of the message of God's faith in humanity, and we also have the ability to deliver that message to others. The faith God has can be a motivator. When I reach out to one person, it can provide them with a moment of connection they might not have in their day. And it often happens in the smallest of moments. When you accompany someone to a difficult doctor's appointment or help make a minyan so someone can say Kaddish. These can be acts of healing for someone. The faith God has in me is a push to protest things I find unjust and make a difference. God has faith in me that I can help create positive and meaningful discourse in this country when sometimes I don't see any in front of me. The faith God has in me reminds me that my vote matters. Reminds me that when I take the time to engage in something meaningful and restorative, I am a better servant of God's work in this world. The faith that I know God has in me and that God has in each of you, that faith is unwavering. That faith doesn't shake for a second. When we talk about faith right now, when I spoke about faith on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, it makes sense that our faith in God might be a little bit shaky. But our tradition makes sure that we know that having unwavering faith in God is simply not the goal. The faith God has in us is the faith we need to underscore right now. The other faith, the perfect faith in God, I'm not always so sure about. It's a work in progress, always striving, never perfect, but perfectly shaky. But this faith, Rabba emunatecha, that God has faith in me, that God has faith in you, that faith is as strong as ever. The powerful difference between our faith in the divine and divine faith in us is that even if my own theology is weakened by the realities of the moment or the pain of loneliness and isolation, I can still know that I am believed in, because we see that impact every day. The profound effects that human beings have on one another doesn't change based on our circumstances. Here's the thing that feels most powerful to me about Rabba Emunatecha, that God's faith in us is great. Even when we don't have the energy to show up, even when we cannot muster any energy, God has abundant faith in us, even when we might not have faith in ourselves. When we declare in Avinu Malkeinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, we have no deeds, no actions, I believe we are declaring that nothing I or we do is what merits God's grace and presence. We are not coming before you, God, carrying riches of some sort in the form of deeds. Instead, we come before you, God, bearing nothing except ourselves. It cuts through all of the imagery of our deeds being weighed out and measured and just says, we are here pouring our hearts out to you, knowing that even without anything, you have faith in us. So many of the things that we used to use to define ourselves, to determine our sense of self-worth, don't operate in the same way now. The workplace has changed for many. Others have lost their jobs. The act of taking care of aging parents or being a perfect parent to others, all of these dynamics have changed. And it would be natural for us to fall into a place where we feel we lack purpose. Divine faith in us restores the notion that those are not the things that made us matter in the first place. Our productivity is not what makes us believed in. What we do or buy does not change God's faith in us. Ki ein banu ma'asim. It's not the things we do that make us worthy. You, God, have faith in us regardless. The classic version of theology that we might think we're supposed to have has been weakened by this moment. But there is still a version of perfect faith that we can access. The belief that has lifted me in this moment is the faith God has in me as a human being. It's a constant reminder that even when things feel at their worst, and I may feel at my most alone, I am being held by God, believed in by God. And that faith is unshakable. We'll continue with Ya'aleh, page 223.
Ya Ale tachanuneinu me'erev ve'yavo shabbateinu miboker ay ve'yeraerinunenu ad areb Rinunenu ad areb Ya'aleh koleinu me'erev Ve'yavo tzidkatenu miboker ay ve'yera pidyoneinu ad areb ay ve'yera pidyoneinu ad areb Ya'aleh inuyenu me'erev ve'yavo selichatenu miboker ay ve'yera na'akatenu ad areb ay ve'yera na'akatenu ad areb Ya'aleh menuseinu me'erev ve'yavo lema'ano miboker ay ve'yera kippureinu ad areb ay ve'yera kippureinu ad areb Ya'aleh yishenu me'erev ve'yavo tohoreinu mi boker ay ve'erachinu neinu ad arev ay ve'erachinu neinu ad arev ya'ale zichronenu me'erev yavo vi'udenu mi boker ay ve'ereh hadratenu ad arev ve'ereh hadratenu ad arev ya'ale dovkeinu me'erev ve'yavo gileinu mi boker ay ve'yereh bakashatenu ad arev ve'yereh bakashatenu ad arev ya'ale enkatenu me'erev ve'yavo elecha mi boker ay ve'yereh eleinu ad arev ay ve'yereh eleinu ad arev.
We'll turn to page 224, the next page, the first paragraph, the last two lines.
Asher lo hayam vehu asahu v'yabeshet yadav yatzaharu asher beyado nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol besarish haneshama lach v'haguf polach chusa ala malach haneshama lach v'haguf shelach Adonai aseh leman shemecha Atanu al shimcha Adonai aseh leman shemecha Bavur kevod shimcha ki el chanun v'rachum shemecha leman shimcha Adonai v'salachta lavoneinu ki ravahu.
We turn to page 226 in the middle of the page. AB will pick up in just a moment at the caret in the middle. This is the first time over this Yom Kippur that we will recite the Yud Gimel Midot, the 13 attributes of God. These words were first uttered in the Torah after Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, committed the sin of building the golden calf. And these were the words that were given as the secret code, so to speak, for forgiveness from God. And so we utter these words as a way that we hope to unlock those gates of forgiveness. Middle of 226.
תעבור על פשע ותמחה שם, כיום ויתייצב עמו שם. תאזין שבתנו ותקשיב מנו מאמר, כיום ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה, וסלחת על עווננו לחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
Page 229. אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, מתנהג בחסידות.
מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון ראשון.
מרבה מחילה לחטאים וסליחה לפושעים.
עושה צדקות עם כל בשר ורוח, לא חרתם תגמול.
אל הורית לנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13.
כמו שהודעת לעניו מקדם, כמו שכתוב.
וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם.
ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה, וסלחת על עווננו לחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
We turn to page 233. We rise as the ark is open for Shema Kolenu.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, berachamim uveratzon et tefilatenu hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem al tashlicheinu milfanecha v'ruach kodshcha al tikach mimenu. Al tashlicheinu le'et zikna kichlot kocheinu al tazveinu Al tazvenu Adonai Eloheinu al tirchak mimenu. Asay manu tov l'tov aser. Amrein as in we manu. Ki lecha Adonai elchana tatane Adonai Eloheinu. Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu al tazvenu al tichenu. Val tachlimenu al taver tanu karvenu l'tortech למען שמך הגדול תמחו ותסלח לעווננו ככתוב בדברי קודשך למען שמך אדוני וסלחת לעווני כי רב הוא.
We remain standing, page 234.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו סלח לנו מחלנו כפר לנו כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו אנו בניך ואתה אבינו אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו אנו קהלך ואתה חלקנו אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו אנו צונך ואתה רוענו אנו חרמך ואתה נוטרנו אנו פעולתך ואתה יוצרנו אנו רעייתך ואתה דודנו אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו אנו ממירך ואתה ממירנו אנו עזי פנים ואתה רחום חנון אנו קשי עורף ואתה ערך אפיים אנו מלאי עוון ואתה מלא רחמים אנו ימינו כצל עובר ואתה הוא שנותיך לא יתמו אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו תבוא לפניך תפילתנו ואל תתעלם מתחינתנו שהנה אנחנו עזים פנים וקשי עורף אמר לפניך אדוני אלוהינו לאבותינו צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו אבל אנחנו ואבותינו חטאנו.
We turn to page 235 for the first of the Ashamnus, the confessionals that we will recite together as a community. This week, a student in our shul sent me an email via their mother asking why we have so many prayers on these holidays. I thought, tell me about it, kid. I thought for a while about my answer. I believe in these prayers and I believe their recitation matters. And I also knew that giving the most heartfelt, real answer would be important. I believe that all of the prayers that we say are meant to permeate us and help do something on the inside. We say them, some only once and some over and over in order to affect us. And the greatest example that I could think of was this, the vidui, the confessional on these Yom Kippur services. We recite this long list of wrongdoings over and over again throughout the service. The list doesn't change from Kol Nidre to Ne'ilah, and I don't think we really change so much in those 25 hours either. But I think reciting these lists over and over can become meditative in some way. In reciting the list that the Machzor gives us, we are asked to perhaps, over the course of this Yom Kippur, come up with our own lists. This vidui is a starting point. It might be, when we recite it now, at Kol Nidre, that we just use the formula that the Machzor gives us. It's a great place to start. But I don't think that can be the ending point. And so I encourage you.
Yatnu rak, hizavnu, latnu marak, yatnu, sararnu, avinu, pashanu, tsararnu, kishinu oref. Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu, Sarnu mitzotecha mishpatecha tovim lo shavalanu, V'ata tzadika kol abalinu ki emet asita v'anachnu hirshanu.
We turn to page 237 for the Al-Chetz, the longer confessional. We have sinned against you through hardening our hearts. We have sinned against you thoughtlessly. We have sinned against you in idle chatter. We have sinned against you through sexual immorality. We have sinned against you openly and in private. We have sinned against you knowingly and deceitfully. We have sinned against you by the way we talk. We have sinned against you by departing us. We have sinned against our innermost thoughts. We have sinned against you for women. We have sinned against you. We have sinned against you by sword and bread. We have sinned against you purposely by mistake. We have sinned against you. We have sinned against we have sinned against you through foul speech. And we have sinned against you through foolish talk. We have sinned against you for pursuing the impulse of evil. And we have sinned against you unwittingly. Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, v'al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yodim u'v'lo yodim, ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu ka'er lahanu. Al-Chet shechatanu. Taking bribes ever since. Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'einayim ramot, v'al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yazut meitzach. V'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu ka'per lahanu. Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzumet yad, v'al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'timhon levav, ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu ka'per lahanu. You can be seated. We've just begun the process tonight, and indeed the work of pulling back the layers and unearthing who we are and who we want to be in the next year is a process. That's part of the goal over these next 25 hours. We will go through these motions several more times. The words of the confessional and the beating or the tapping of our chests. And I invite you to recall how it felt tonight to do it for the first time, and noting to yourself, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, did it change? What was it like? Did the words penetrate differently? And of course, if you're up for sharing, after the holiday, I would love to hear your reflections on this process. Now, it's an honor to hear some words from our shul president, Alyssa Wertheimer.
Good evening. It's a shame we can't gather together in our beloved building for these high holidays. I'm an in-person person. If you'd asked me last year, I would have firmly told you Zoom and pre-recorded video doesn't do it for me. And I think most of you would have agreed. But in these months of life under COVID, we've changed. I know I have. My habits, my lifestyle, my social life, my spiritual life. It's all shifted to something new. Early on, I laughed off the idea of socially distanced get-togethers, scoffed at friends' invitations to have a cocktail in front of our computers. And still today, I would prefer to gather in person. But I'm more comfortable with life having shifted online for the sake of a safe community. And I'll tell you when it started to click for me. It was an online sisterhood program, of all things a floral arrangement course. Before I logged on, I had mixed feelings. I was craving the connection that I get from gathering with all of you at the synagogue, but I was feeling a bit of Zoom fatigue. Then faces started popping up in little boxes. Each new face broke into a smile as their eyes scanned the other participants. I was doing it too. It felt so good to see familiar people in a relaxed social atmosphere. There wasn't an agenda, no one had to mind their P's and Q's. It was simply fun. I had an emotional response to seeing people I've known for several years. People that I guess I took for granted when we saw each other all the time. Nobody on the call was a best friend. In fact, many were only friends through Beth Shalom. But I didn't realize how much I missed seeing them and how happy it would make me to see them and be with them. I realized after I shut down my laptop that I had just been to Beth Shalom. Our congregation isn't a building, even though we have a beautiful one. Our stories aren't in the books in the synagogue library. Our spirituality doesn't live in the sanctuary. Beth Shalom is you. It's Rabbi Sarit, Gio, and Danny. It's my family and friends. It's me. It's us. The pandemic completely upended our routines, but it can't touch our congregation or our traditions. With these high holidays upon us, we're practicing some of our most meaningful ancient traditions, traditions that are vital to Judaism and vital to who we are. I think it's incredible that we're able to do this using modern technology and techniques. Rabbi Sarit knew that if we missed out on this annual connection, it would be painful to the congregation. She found ways to bring us together. She brought Beth Shalom to us. She knew that these holidays bring more of us together than any other part of the year, and she went above and beyond to make this a meaningful experience. We are lucky to have Rabbi Sarit. We are also lucky to have many others. Think about what Gio, our executive director, and Danny, our director of education, have done to present consistent, meaningful programming and connections to the members of the congregation who need the synagogue the most. Yoga classes, baking classes, spiritual journeys, davening, education. Consider joining one in the months ahead. See if you are as surprised as I was how connected you'll feel afterwards and how much you needed it. Think about the volunteers who have stepped up and risen to the occasion, going out of their way to help people come together to experience Beth Shalom. Think about our programming committee and sisterhood, which have done a fabulous job in getting programs together. They rolled out a whole calendar of programs where they could have very easily stepped away into quarantine. Everybody pivoted and changed direction and went above and beyond in the process. Finally, I want you to think about what you need from the Beth Shalom congregation today. What will you need 10 years from now, or perhaps in 20? Our congregation serves us differently depending on where we are on our life's journey. Our kids need it to learn who they are. My generation needs it to recenter our busy lives. Our parents and grandparents need it for their spiritual nourishment, for social connections. And as a congregation, we all need each other. We need people to show us how bright the future is. We need people to show us how the modern parent is leading their children on a Jewish journey to adulthood despite the challenges of our modern world. We need people to show us how to transition from a career into what comes next. We need you to donate what you can when you can. Any amount helps, especially in these uncertain times. We need you to volunteer when a job needs to get done, since we often rely on the same handful of volunteers to keep us moving forward. It would be great to see some new faces get involved. We need you to attend Minions. I'm proud to belong to a synagogue that offers regular weekday Minions, but if we are to continue to provide it, we need your support. We need you to reach out when a Beth Shalom family needs help or comfort. We need all of this to ensure that this congregation, wherever we are physically, will be there for the next generations. But really, we just need to show up. It's so simple, so comforting, so familiar. Beth Shalom exists wherever we are when we simply connect with each other. I invite you to be a part of it. And when you do, I hope you're like me, and the emotions you feel when you see these familiar faces surprise you with their immediacy and intensity. I look forward to seeing you. I know it will bring me great joy just to see your familiar face.
Thank you, Alyssa, for those uplifting and inspiring words. We continue our service on page 240 with the piyut, the liturgical poem Mi She'ana. You can see in this poem the refrain is Hu Ya'anenu, that God answers us. Throughout the poem, we see examples when God responded to our ancestors, and in reciting all of the times that God responded to them with refrain Hu Ya'anenu, we say, hopefully, God will answer us as well. Page 240.
מי שענה לשרה אימנו בזקנתה הוא יעננו מי שענה לאברהם אבינו בהר המוריה הוא יעננו מי שענה
ליצחק בנם
שנקר המזבח הוא יעננו
מי שענה לרבקה בהריונה
הוא יעננו מי שענה ליעקב בבית אל הוא יעננו מי שענה ללאה בעוניה הוא יעננו
מי שענה לרחל בצפונה
הוא יעננו
מי שענה ליוסף בבית האסורים
הוא יעננו מי שענה למיילדות העבריות על האובניים הוא יעננו מי שענה ליוכבד על שפת היאור הוא יעננו
מי שענה אבותינו אמותינו על ים סוף
הוא יעננו
מי שענה למשה
בחורב הוא יעננו מי שענה למרים בבערה הוא יעננו מי שענה לאהרון במחתה הוא יעננו
מי שענה לפנחס בקומה מי מתוך חיידה.
הוא יעננו.
מי שענה לבנות צלבך, דמדן פתח למועד.
הוא יעננו. מי שענה לכל הצדיקים והצדיקות והחסידים והחסידות, הוא יעננו. והתמימים והתמימות והישרים והישרות והרחמים והרחמניות, הוא יעננו. הוא יעננו.
We rise as the ark is open for Avinu Malkeinu 243.
אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, אבינו מלכנו עשיימנו למען שמך, אבינו מלכנו קדש אבינו מלכנו עפר עצת אויבינו, אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך,
אבינו מלכנו החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך. אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לכל עמך.
אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לכל עמך. אבינו מלכנו זכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך,
אבינו מלכנו זכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה. אבינו מלכנו אצמח לנו ישועת בקרוב. אבינו מלכנו קרן ישראל עמך. אבינו מלכנו שמע קולנו חוס רחם עלינו וקבל ברחמים ורצון את תפילתנו נעל תשמענו.
זכור כי עפר אנחנו. אבינו מלכנו חם עלינו מלך. אבינו מלכנו סלמנו למעננו.
אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו. אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו.
קדיש שלם 245.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעולמה דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה
מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה.
או יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו Le'ela, le'ela, mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, tamiram be'omav v'meru.
Amen.
Titkabal teloton uva'uton dechol Yisrael, kodam avuon divishmaya v'immeru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'immeru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'immeru. Amen.
246. Aleinu l'shabeach
Ladon hakol latet gedula leotzer bereshit shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem vegor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu shenotei shamayim v'yosei ha'aretz v'moshe hu Eloheinu eino malkeinu asotar karkati v'torah al kei nekavel lecha Adonai Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You can be seated. All those who are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit, I invite you to join me. Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, page 247. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divra kirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. We'll turn to page 248. You can follow along in the English as we recite Psalm 27, the psalm for the season of repentance.
Adonai is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear?
Adonai is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I dread?
When evil people assail me to devour my flesh, it is they, my enemies, and those who besiege me, who stumble and fall.
Should an armed camp be arrayed against me, my heart would show no fear. Should they war against me, of this I would be sure.
One thing I ask of Adonai, this I seek, to dwell in the house of God all the days of my life, to behold God's beauty and visit in God's sanctuary.
Ahat sha'alti ma'et Adonai, ota avakesh shivti beveit Adonai, kol yemei hayeh lahazot b'noam Adonai u'lavakir b'hei kalo.
Were God to hide me in God's sukkah on the calamitous day, were God to enfold me in the secret recesses of God's tent, I would be raised up in a protecting fort.
Now I raise my head above the enemies that surround me and come with offerings amidst trumpet blasts to God's tent, chanting and singing praise to Adonai. Adonai, hear my voice as I cry out. Be gracious to me and answer me. It is you of whom my heart said, seek my face. It is your presence that I seek, Adonai. Do not hide your face from me. Do not act angrily towards me. You have always been my help. Do not forsake me. Do not abandon me, my God, my deliverer. Though my father and mother abandon me, Adonai will gather me in.
Show me your way, Adonai, and lead me on a straight path, despite those arrayed against me.
Do not hand me over to the grasp of those who besiege me, for false witnesses and those who seek ill have risen against me.
If only I could trust that I would see God's goodness in the land of the living. Place your hope in Adonai. Be strong, take courage, and place your hope in Adonai.
Gmar Chatima Tova to all of you. Thank you for joining us in our davening tonight. And of course, thank you for your patience while we work through technical glitches. The server that powers our website is Shul Cloud. And there are a lot of people all over the country who are in Shul tonight. So that went down. We hope that the website will be back up tomorrow. We will be streaming either on our website or on the YouTube channel that you're watching it on right now. Davening tomorrow morning begins at 9:30. We'll be back again tomorrow evening, late afternoon for Mincha and Ne'ilah, starting at 5:45 tomorrow. I want to offer a few specific thank yous this evening. Of course, Rabbi A.B. Schachter Gampel, thank you for your beautiful davening and ushering us through this entire high holiday season and for practicing with me every night at home. A huge thank you to Danny Kraft, our Director of Education and Youth Engagement, who has worked tirelessly and creatively to engage our kids and our families on these holidays. A big thank you, of course, to our Executive Director, Gio Poor, who has made sure that no detail has gone uncared for. And I think that's how so many of us feel about you and your presence here, so thank you. I want to offer a few other thank yous tonight. Many of you in the last week have reached out to say that one of the most meaningful parts of the service experience was hearing from different congregants, hearing people read Torah and the personal reflections. Carrie Webb is the person that put all of those videos together. And so, Carrie, we have a huge amount of gratitude to you for bringing the voices of the congregation to life in our services. And it would not have been the same experience without you. So thank you. And none of us would be able to access these services tonight if it weren't for the amazing people at Yarborough Music, to Adam, to Davis, and Josh. So grateful to you. None of you watching the stream can see them, but they are the ones making the magic happen. Davis and Josh, I don't know if when you went into this line of work that you thought you were entering some type of spiritual endeavor, but I can promise you, I know for a fact that you are doing incredibly holy work throughout these holidays for us, of allowing hundreds of people to be able to have a spiritual experience at home. Thank you for powering us up, for working through any technical difficulties, the speed of light. We are so grateful to you. Thank you to both of you for making this happen. We'll conclude tonight with Yigdal on page 250.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בעיני תל מציאותו, אחד בעין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו kedushato. Kadmon lechol davar asher nivra. Rishon v'yen reshit l'reshito. Ino adon olam v'chol notzar. Yoreh gedulato malchuto. Shefa nevuato nitano. El anshe segulato v'tiparto. Lo kam Yisrael k'Moshe od. Navi umabit et emunato. Torah temet natan le'amoel. Al yad nevio neman beito. Lo yachal Yifa'el velo yamir dato. Leolamim lezulato. Tzopeh v'yodea setareinu.
Mabit lesof davar
Bekadmato gomel ish chesed kemifalo noten l'rashara kerishato nishlach leketz yamin meshichenu liftot mechakeket yeshuato meitim yechayael berov chasto Baruch Adei Shem Teilato meitim yechayael berov chasto Baruch Adei Shem Teilato.
Gemar Chatima Tova. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Shana Tova from the Yanowskis.
Shana Tova. Sunday is very, very happy to see everyone in this new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We miss everybody.
Shana Tova.
Okay.
Lashana Tova from the Sanders.
May it be a sweet year.
Lashana Tova.
Lashana Tova from the Slovis family.
Shana Tova, Beth Shalom.
Happy New Year, everyone. And should it be a happy, healthy year?
Hope to see you in person soon.
Amen.
Hey, everybody. I miss seeing everyone, but I'm wishing all of my Beth Shalom family a healthy and a happy New Year.
Lashana Tova, may you be inscribed for a sweet and healthy year, and may next year we be together in the synagogue.
From our house
to yours,
Wishing you a
happy,
healthy,
sweet
New Year. Lashana Tova Tikatevu.
Shana Tova from Susan and Saul Stein.
Shana Tova.
Michelle and I want to wish everyone a safe, healthy, and happy New Year.
Lashana Tova.
Lashana Tova. Want to wish everybody a very happy and a very healthy New Year. And may this year see the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. And may next year we be celebrating together in person in the synagogue.
Happy, healthy, and sweet New Year to our Beth Shalom family.
Lashana Tova.
From our family to yours,
we wish you a Shana Tova, a sweet, happy, and healthy New Year.
Shana Tova from the Crones. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Shana Tova to all my good friends and loved ones, and a healthy, happy New Year to all.
Shana Tova Umutuka.
Shana Tova to my Beth Shalom family. I wish you a very happy, healthy New Year.
It's all about that Rosh Hashanah. It's all about that Rosh Hashanah. It's all about that Rosh Hashanah. Happy New Year!
Lashana
Tova.
Have a good year.
Shana Tova from the Talkner Girls.
Hi, everybody. It is Amy Hertz and Robert Shankman. We're at Glacier National Park overlooking beautiful Hidden Lake.
We want to wish our Best Shalom family a happy new year. Shana Tova. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you when we get back.
Wake up, don't you hear it calling you? Arise and live your life anew. Tekiah.
Shana Tova from Janet
And Paul.
Ruben.
Lashana Tova. Happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Great seeing you all.
Shana Tova, wishing y'all a sweet, happy, healthy New Year and sending y'all love.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova from the Scheinberg clan to our Best Shalom family.